So I'm just sitting in my car and someone has pulled up next to me in their car, and they obviously don't know I'm here because they've rolled down their window and started throwing rubbish out the window. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, should I go up to this person and say, you know, in Australia, it's usually frowned upon to be littering in public. Now, of course, it's different around the world and in different countries. I understand that. And I don't know if this person is from Australia or not. But I just think, what is in that? And as I'm sitting here, this person is also smoking and they're on the phone and being very loud. And, you know, I can't really complain about those things because I've done many of that myself as well. And I could be quite loud even now speaking on this camera. But in my mind, I'm thinking like this thing of confronting someone and saying, hey, that's not necessarily against the law, although littering is against the law in Australia. It's like this thing of socialization, this thing of putting norms upon someone. And that got me to thinking, like, where does this begin? Where does this happen? And I thought back to when a child is very young, particularly in a boy, there's a tremendous amount of energy and expression and this freedom, right? So just imagine for a second, you're an 8-year-old boy. So before we go any further, I need your help. Please do leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow this channel. And you're jumping on the couch, you're waving your arms around, and you're making all sorts of noises, and you're picking up things and looking at them and shaking them, and you're basically going crazy, right? Now, if you have known an 8-year-old boy, you know that this is common behavior for them. They are full of energy. They are full of exploration. They're full of this excitement, and they can go like this all day, every day. Yes, there's this huge energy. Now, what happens in that situation is the parent comes along and says, calm down, behave yourself. Don't be like that. Yes, there's this pressure. There's this conditioning, this kind of way of controlling the behavior. Now, the reason we have this, the reason we have socialization is because there are things that people do that are really hurtful to others. There are things that are really against the people around you. Yes, you have to be aware of the people around you. It might be that the 8-year-old boy breaks his sister's toy or breaks grandma's ornament or does something that's annoying, yes, and making noise is unsettling to the people around them. And there's something in that. There's something in the being aware of the people around you, being aware that there's this thing that you're inside of and it's not just you. Now, there's the other side of socialization, which is that it crunches and it puts a damper on the free expression, on the openness. And we learn this thing of being small. We learn this thing of not being free, of not flowing with our energy, not being able to speak out and make noises. Now, I have had a very powerful experience of this when I have been done, a number of times I've done this. It is a participation in an awareness intensive called Osho Born Again. So this was pioneered by Osho, who was a spiritual visionary and a speaker on many subjects, and you really should know about him by now. And anyway, one of his awareness intensives went like this. It was 2 hours, 2-hour session every day for a week. And you would do this in a group. In the first hour, it was non-verbal, and you would act and behave as you feel to behave when you were a child. And then in the second hour, you would sit silently with your eyes closed. Now, participating in this group, so much stuff happens. And I've done this with people from all cultures, from many different cultural backgrounds and all ages. Very old people to younger people and adults, right? Fully grown adults. And when that session happens, when the bell goes off and the session starts, you would not believe how much crazy stuff happens. People start screaming, people are singing songs, people get naked, people throw pillows, people are doing all sorts of things and breaking things and turning mattresses into cubby houses and doing somersaults and pretending to be animals, pretending to be a train or a plane or a car, or making a primal sound, and it's just like all over the place, yes? And what you see when you go through this process is that there's a breaking off of this clench, of the rules, of the trying to be in the web of socialization. Now, the other side of this is that sometimes people would participate in this group and then they would leave the group room, they would leave the session and go back and interact outside, and they would continue this sort of behavior and sort of get hit, right? Or sort of have this opposition like, oh, you're being annoying, or there's this embarrassment, right? Now, socialization often does happen in a moment of embarrassment or confrontation, of, sudden realization like, I'm being very rude to the people around me. Yes, sometimes it's more subtle. Sometimes the person is in denial, but it happens in many different ways, right? But that realization then adjusts something. There's a new insight into this thing of, how do I behave with freedom, with expressing myself, but also being considerate of others? Yeah? You see that it's not an either or. You see that in order to be free and express yourself, you don't have to be rude to others. And in order to be polite and understanding of others, you don't have to compromise yourself. That is the exact insight. You can be free and you can be open to yourself without being rude to others, without being impressing upon others, without being obnoxious and being loud, yes? There is a way to do that. But the only way you can do it is by learning the behavior. Yeah? You might hear someone talk about cultural conditioning or societal conditioning or childhood conditioning or whatever psychological analysis or therapeutic analysis word you want to do for it. Yes, any word or explanation is just words. What matters and what actually brings you out of that is your ability to experiment with the behavior. It's to actually do it and discover it for yourself. You can't just sit around thinking about it, yeah? There's no way I can explain it to you and you can get it. Even if I explain the Born Again Awareness Intensive, the 8.y.o Intensive, which is, I'm not sure if I mentioned that's the name of it, right? But this Awareness Intensive of 8.y.o is the stepping in to the action and learning it for yourself, actually going through it for yourself. And you'll find that if you sit and listen, it will go around and around in circles. If you listen to more explanations, if you listen to more theories about childhood conditioning and all the rest of it, it will get you nowhere. It will get you just thinking and thinking and thinking. And no matter how eloquently the idea is put, no matter how well it is explained to you, and of course there's something in a good explanation and a bad explanation, right? There is some use in that, but you have to take the next step. You have to take action. And to come out of your conditioning, to really become free, you have to do the behaviors. You have to experiment with moving your body. And that means dancing. That means screaming. That means making noises. That means pretending to be a gorilla, pretending to be a train. Yes? And then combining that with silence, combining that with sitting with your eyes closed and integrating it, yes? That second hour in the session after the childhood expression is very different to just sitting down and closing your eyes like you would on a Vipassana retreat or in your daily meditation, yeah? That's the qualitative difference. That's why we learn things differently. Now, the next step for you is to take the leap from brain rot content over to insightful educational content, and you can do that by enrolling in one of my courses. I have online courses on Udemy. A lot of them are free. You can just enroll, create an account, watch the videos, listen along, and allow the process to begin, yeah? The explanations will start the digging. The mind talk starts to get deeper. So just continue along, keep going. You're doing great, and I'll be back very soon with the next talk.